Today's devotion is called Life is Not Fair, and we are on day 148, May the 28th. And today's morning read is Jeremiah 10 through 12, and the featured verse is Jeremiah 12:1. Righteous are you, O Lord, that I would plead my case with you. Indeed, I would discuss matters of justice with you. Why has the way of the wicked prospered? Why are all those who deal in treachery at ease? I can imagine that we have all had a situation in our lives or multiple situations in our lives where we have questioned the fairness of the circumstances that surrounded that situation. Well, my kids will tell you that they have heard both my husband and myself say to them countless times, life is not always fair. And as I was writing my devotional and writing today's insert, I could actually see their eyes rolling when I was writing it. It was kind of funny. And I actually learned that statement from Nathan. I remember him saying it a lot when they were kids, and I kind of, adopted that saying as well because I was like, that is so true. Well, I remember one Saturday night after a week of being on the road, Nathan wanted to take our teen son out for kind of like a guy's night to just reconnect with him and, just have kind of that son father bonding time. And he decided to take him to one of their favorite pastime places. It was this indoor go-kart course. And we don't take our kids to this indoor go-kart course very much because, it's a little pricey and, we have all kinds of time conflicts and stuff. It's kind of hard. And sometimes when we're together, we do other things. And so in this season of our lives, we didn't go there very much. So you can imagine Ezekiel's excitement on the return of his father when he came home and when he wanted to go, spend this time with Nathan. And so when our middle daughter found out about this special event that her brother received, she became upset and stated how unfair it was, claiming that he seemed to get all the fun. And I remember this night, and it's moments like this that a kid's perspective can be a little bit skewed because kids seem to have this unique ability to notice in detail when a sibling receives something that they missed out on. And yet kids oftentimes, they have a hyper focus on that moment, and yet they forget about the times when preferential treatment was given to them. And I think sometimes, I point out a kid's example, but I think that adults do this as well. The famous why questions start really at an early age in all of us, and they continue on through adulthood. Even Jeremiah had why questions. We read that in today's morning rinse. He asked God why life seemed so unfair. It seemed the very people who had hurt God's heart were now prospering. So in this confusion about this and his questions, he, asked, why no justice was given to them. And these questions appeared to be, legitimate questions. And, he, especially because he, witnessed their sinful behaviors firsthand, and then he sees them prosper. And as a prophet, I'm sure he felt, the hurting heart of God, making what he witnessed a little bit more challenging even because he witnessed it. And I think that we all have asked a similar question of God. It would, if not verbally asking him that, we ask it in our hearts, and he hears the question. So, I think that we can relate to this question that Jeremiah was asking in this moment. But not all of God's answers to us about the fairness of life are nice and easy. Sometimes God must tell us, his children, that life is not always fair. And that is sometimes a little bit of a hard pill to swallow. Just like it's hard sometimes for our children to hear that from a parent and they don't always understand, it can be hard to hear that also from God. And when we experience people out in the world and we know that they've, maybe even done wrong to us, and we don't see anything at all come to fruition or come to a public stance that they've, got their repercussions and they've got what's coming to them. We don't always see that. And, we may never see that. And yet, God will often say, life is not fair. And so today's challenge to dig deeper is to self-reflect and see, are you going through a situation, or is a situation coming up in your memory that you feel is unfair? Whether that's now or in the past, and this is resurfacing those memories. Have you ever gone through anything, whether it's past or now, that you feel is unfair? And have you ever asked God that why question pertaining to that circumstance? Like, why did that happen? And why did that person not ever, apologize? Or why is this person continually bringing up something? Or whatever the situation is, have you ever asked God the why question pertaining to that situation? And you know what? Today's challenge, ask him again today and see what his answer is. Maybe he never answered it before. And maybe there's still this burning desire of, I really want to know about this unfair situation. Maybe God has an answer for you. And it may be that he will respond to you and answer some of the things that you have questioned. Maybe he will say to you, life is not always fair. I don't know what he'll say, but maybe where your growth is at now, maybe you'll be able to receive the answer in a new, fresh perspective, and maybe he will show you some things about that circumstance that will help you bring closure to how you're feeling. And when you pull out your reflectional book tonight, whether that's my companion journal or another journal that you have, answer the question, what answer did God give you when you asked him the why question pertaining to your unfair circumstance? And write down that journey. I think we all have situations in our life that maybe we feel is unfair. And, honestly, sometimes we feel it's unfair because we have this entitlement mentality, like, this is owed to me, or why is this business over here prospering and my business is struggling today, or vice versa, or why is, this person experiencing this and I'm not, or why did this happen and I still need to get some resolution to that. There's all kinds of questions that can come up, and I think that probably we all have that sense until we get to a place where we just don't care about that anymore. And as we continue to grow closer and closer and closer to God, those types of situations will become fewer and farther between each other, until we just accept, what is happening in our lives. But the prophet Jeremiah asked this question, and being close to God, he asked this question. So ask it today about your situation, about your circumstance. Ask that question, and maybe you will be surprised at the answer. Maybe he will show you, look, it's not as unfair as what you think, because this is what's happening on the other side. Or he may say, life is not fair. Or he may say, you know what? Self-reflect and see what kind of growth you've had because of this circumstance. And you might be ending your conversation with God being very proud of yourself. So you never know what is going to come from this question. And I hope that tonight you're inspired and you've resolved some things regarding that question or that specific circumstance that you asked God about. And if you don't have my devotional, remember you can go to the show notes and click on the link and order that devotional, and order it for someone else, and invite people into the Facebook group, and invite people to share. And I just want to continue to encourage you to walk through this journey together with me and other people. So until tomorrow, keep rinsing, reflecting, and repeating. God bless you.